So I want to ask you a couple questions today about Powerwise's solutions for utility grade photovoltaic plants specifically. So I know
Yeah,
this is a sector that you've started to put a lot of focus on recently. What do you offer in the utility PV plants in terms of your weather stations?
yeah, you're right. This is definitely our key focus, that particular market. And in US, it's actually the second biggest growth market worldwide is utility PV sector. So we have a lot of variation to offer in this segment, and really not a single met station configuration for a utility site is identical. We normally get detailed specifications which we have to meet, or sometimes the client say that it has to be a configuration which meets the IEC 6174-1 standard, with ventilate and heat class A radiant sensors. It's As we talked about before, it's nice to see that many new sites using bifacial PV panels, and of course for those the albedo, the ground reflection monitoring is absolutely a must. Other times the client has a certain budget and is less strict with some of the specifications. And with those configurations, we normally try to incorporate our own PVMet 500 platform. So,
Okay. Now, typically in utility installation, about how many weather stations do you usually have on site?
so normally we say that it's always at least two med stations, so you have some redundancy and also the variation in terms of this site. But normally it's two med station up to 20 megawatts, and then one additional med station for every 20 megawatts after that. So an example, we're bidding on a very big site in Texas, which is 372 megawatt. That's huge, which means that such plant would need around 10 high-end met stations.
And in terms of those MET stations, what sort of mounting or site configuration do you offer for those?
So a majority of the utility configuration, we really suggest a 10-foot tower solution, which is secured on a concrete pad, which is, it's normally like 2 feet by 2 feet by 2 feet and 2 feet in the ground. And then some areas that there's an inverter building, and they basically say they want to have just a pipe that is supported on the inverter building wall, outside wall. But also for some smaller sites, we have a very beefy 6 to 10 foot telescoping tripod, which would be sufficient. With a tripod, we recommending securing the tripod with guide wires, and a center anchor if the legs are not bolted in concrete as well.
Okay. And in terms of powering these MET stations, are they normally self-powered? Are they powered off the solar panels themselves? How is that configured?
So most of the time, we actually do get them connected with 120 watts AC power to the station, but they all pretty much need to have some kind of backup power. So we include a charge controller on the battery, so the line voltage normally keep the batteries topped up, and then if there's a power loss, then the battery kicks in. And we normally size the battery for 48 to 72 hours of battery operation. And some areas, they actually even adding a PV panel, which we mount on a tower, in addition to the line power. So then in case that the power of the station is completely independent of line power.
Okay, thanks. Now, I want to move from some of these physical aspects to actually the data side. What sort of data loggers are you using to connect these in?
On the utility side, I would say we are definitely most of the time using the Campbell Scientific flagship, the CR1000X, a fully programmable device, which Powerwise actually write its own configuration program in a basic kind of program called CR Basic. For smaller job, we're using the Modbus gateway A8810 or 20 from Obvious. And also for that, we have our own templates and all that stuff. So we really, even we have third-party data logger, we build our own script and all that stuff for that. And I should also say that we're actually working on developing our own data logger, the in-gate PV. So again, it indicates that we have really deep knowledge of sophisticated hardware needed in this marketplace.
And then once you have that data, how is this output into the systems? Could you tell me a little bit about that,
Yeah,
please?
so the data loggers we use all offer Modbus TCP output via direct Ethernet cable communication or sometimes via cellular modem. A far majority of utility site has the data going to a SCADA system. And of course, if you're using a cellular modem, it doesn't have an ongoing data flow, but the modem can be updated data in system at various frequencies that you configure with the cell modem.
Okay, great. And then I know you offer sensors in terms of all the typical stuff like the irradiance, relative humidity, et cetera, et cetera. Do you have any special sensors that you offer for your solutions?
Yes. So lately, it's very popular to including soiling sensors. And some of them are based on a reference cell concept. That means actually a silicon wafer that is similar to the solar panel itself. And other times it's more sophisticated sensors, almost like camera technology, like the Mars from Atonometrics or Dust IQ from Kip and Sonnen. A few times we have offered sensors that actually can detect hail and hail intensity. Of course, with larger hail sizes can really be damaging for the PV panels themselves.
Okay, thanks so much for sharing about the utility stuff.